Fortunately, I cleared the exam in my first attempt only. I got selected into Railway Protection Force. Then in the second attempt, I could not clear the prelims. I felt I was a bit overconfident. I took it lightly because in the first attempt, I thought I reached the interview stage, so prelims could be a cakewalk. But then again, I missed the cutoff by a couple of marks. And then at that point of time, I understood that I cannot take this exam lightly.
The thing is, you need to study, revise, and practice. All these three things should go in tandem so as to achieve the success.
I started from scratch only. At that time, initially it was tough. I would say a couple of months, suddenly after a gap of 3 years after college, not into, that grip over the studies, that reading habits were not there, attention span was not there, that concentration, focus, everything was missing initially. So it took me 1 or 2 months, just like normally it happens with all the aspirants, to get into those habits which are required as per the exam. I started changing myself slowly. I felt after a month or so, things started making sense.
Firstly, sir, I would also tell to all the aspirants who are going to watch this video that everybody's strengths and everybody's weaknesses are different. Please do not copy my strength. Please do not copy my weakness.
When I became more mature with respect to the preparation, I became a mature aspirant. Then I realized it's not necessary to read n number of things. It's better to read limited number of things, do necessary revisions so that we retain as much as possible during the exam. So this risk and reward ratio, that risk is the amount of time you're giving to a topic and reward is the amount of questions it will fetch me. That I maintained everywhere. And then I became more practical with respect to the exam rather than being emotional that, if I'm sitting for 10 hours a day, what is the output I'm getting? If that is sure with me, then sir, I'll go ahead with it. That helped me a lot during my preparation.
Sir, my father also used to tell my cousins when we were young that go and prepare for the civil services. So, sir, somewhere I had heard about the civil services during my childhood, but recommended for excise and taxation officer in the PCS exam, state civil services, sir. And in 2017, for the civil services, IPS officer, sir.
The most important strategy was writing answer writing, sir. Writing by your own, because your main question answer sheet will be in front of the examiner. You won't be in the front of the examiner to explain your point. So articulation skill, writing in brief, addressing the question in full. So all these things helped me. But for this, I had to do an elaborate test series kind of a thing, sir. So I wrote many full-length question papers.
I remember, sir, that because we have to devote a lot of time to general studies, especially those who are from engineering background, we have comparatively less idea about our contemporary happenings and about our general knowledge and current affairs. So we have to improvise a lot on newspaper reading, a lot on how we read normal humanities subject. So, sir, my main focus was on newspaper reading, and I still think, sir, that newspaper reading is a quintessential part of the examination. And we cannot really afford to skip that part.
I took my prelims. So from March to August, and then in December, I took my mains and I got through for the interviews. So overall, it was around 4 to 8 months of preparation. And I would say that it was a joy actually, because, sir, I'm a person who is even in those days, even in my MBBS days, perhaps even in my school days, I was very interested in how this nation runs. And its foreign policy, its economic policy, and what is governance, and how is this nation governed, and what is the history of how we arrived here, the freedom struggle. All these things genuinely interested me. And I think if you are that sort of a person who has an aptitude for these things, of knowing things about our nation, our country, the history, the civics, the geography of it, I don't think that the UPSC syllabus, especially the general studies syllabus, is going to come across as something of a curriculum for you. It would be like reading for your own information.
Build on your strengths, because your strengths will make sure that you get the better marks, but do not compromise on your weakness. Do not leave those subjects. My strength was I can analyze things. I can analyze things properly, and I can write any essay also in a very analytical manner. So having realized that, my approach to studies was primarily analytical.
So I always felt writing is basically what we are thinking and how we are able to present it on a piece of paper. Are the thoughts we are having and the writing we wrote on the paper are same or not? If that is happening in a clear and crisp manner without using some fancy words or English vocabulary, that is more than enough with the writing. So that fear is there because aspirants feel that because of we have to write for 3 hours. The moment they start reading the question, they'll take 2-3 minutes thinking about how will they start the answer. So that is something can be covered up when we prepare for this exam in our room. So let's say if you're writing for 30 minutes in a day, that initial turbulence period can be taken care of.
My takeaway from this is that this exam requires a very layered approach. Like one should not directly start reading each and everything, because then he or she will be confused. So rather we should move in a layer by layer. First, we should be clear about the basics, about the foundation. Like we should be very clear that if I don't read this, then I will not clear the exam. I will read those areas first. I'll be accustomed to those areas first, and then gradually we should move ahead with the topics which are relatively tougher, or which are more on the difficult side, or which are more rare, or which are maybe questions are not coming from that. So, sir, a thorough analysis of the previous year questions is also very necessary in this aspect, sir.